A fixed state. Some people call them the soulless ones. The book of Enoch tells us that they sinned against mankind. They were cannibalistic. They were sexually deviant.
They were giants.
They were giants. They would come in and drink. They would tear off the heads of people, allegedly, and drink the blood. They were
like taking a bottle cap off a beer.
But Native American, First Nation people tell us exactly the same thing. Thousands of years later, these red-haired, six-fingered giants would come in, rip the heads off to the braves, drink the blood, mutilate the bodies. I mean, crazy stuff. And this is all in Native American oral tradition. I'm not making this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
Chapter 21. Then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Lord. And the Lord answered, "It is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites." And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites, and the children of Israel had sworn unto it. And Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Judah. Wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, What shall I do for you? And wherewith shall I make the atonement, that ye may bless the inheritance of the Lord? And the Gibeonites said unto him, We will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house. Neither for us shalt thou kill any man in Israel. And he said, What ye shall say, that will I do for you. And they answered the king, The man that consumed us, and that devised against us that we should be destroyed from remaining in any of the coasts of Israel, let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto the Lord in Gibeah of Saul, whom the Lord did choose. And the king said, I will give them. But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the Lord's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bare unto Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Maholathite, and he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before the Lord. And they fell all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days, in the beginning of barley harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth, and spread it for her upon the rock, from the beginning of harvest until water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And it was told David what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son from the men of Jabesh-Gilead, which had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from thence the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of them that were hanged. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son buried they in the country of Benjamin in Zelah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father. And they performed all that the king commanded. And after that, God was entreated for the land. Moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel. And David went down, and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. And Ishbi-Benob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, succored him, and smote the Philistine, and killed him. Then the men of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quench not the light of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that there was again a battle with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sibbecai the Hushathite slew Saph, which was of the sons of the giant. And there was again a battle in Gob with the Philistines, where Elhanan, the son of Jaare-Oregim, a Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath the Gittite, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature, that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number. And he also was born to the giant. And when he defied Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shimeah, the brother of David, slew him. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants.
Shalom family, I am your host Naphtali Holder, welcoming you all back to ADUIC. So word on these Israelite streets is that the fallen angels did not exist. that the whole giant thing is completely allegorical.
There's multiple definitions for heaven, but contextually, that's why I went to Lamentations 2:1, because it says Israel was cast out of heaven to the earth. And that's talking about us being taken into captivity to Babylon. Because as we know, the angels don't sin. The angels do exactly what they're told. So who are these angels that rebelled and kept not their first estate and are in everlasting change? It's very simple. It's us.
But as always, your girl is coming with all the receipts, be it archaeological, historical, and biblical. All facts, no fiction. As Christ said in John 3:12, "If I told you of earthly things, and ye believe not, how shall ye believe if I tell you of heavenly things?" Now on with the show. Now, growing up as a child, I remember reading fairy tales, and one fairy tale in particular was Jack and the Beanstalk. This so-called fairy tale was actually derived from the early 18th century tale Jack the Giant Killer. The origins of this tale can be traced through oral histories to prehistoric England, when giants may have roamed not just England. See, according to the biblical narrative, the giants originated in the land of Shinar, which is now present-day Mesopotamia, and these giants would spread all throughout the entire world. Now, the 16th century scribe Raphael Holinshed wrote in Chronicles of England, Scotland, and Ireland that Britain's oldest acknowledged name was taken from a prehistoric king named Albion, who ruled a race of giants that dominated the UK for hundreds, possibly thousands of years before Christ. Did you know that there are many respected accounts of giants that came from all over the world? Arthur Hugh Newman and co-author with Jen Vieira of Giants on Record, America's Hidden History, Secrets in the Mounds, and the Smithsonian Files, written about an extinct, genetically distinct, so-called subspecies of Homo sapiens that was discovered 10 years ago in a Denisova cave in Siberia. They were called the Denisovans. It was discovered that they were very, very tall, and their descendants could have wandered as far as North America. And there has been many Native American accounts of tribes that spoke of the giant men who once lived and roamed in the territories of their forefathers, all over what is now the U.S., the Iroquois, the Osage, the Tuscaroras, the Hurons, and the Omahas. But the one thing that is missing here is how their so-called Native American cousins had traveled and came over with them. So at the beginning of this video, we reviewed 2 Samuel chapter 21, which spoke of the Amorites who changed their names to the Gibeonites. Now, it was written that the Amorites were the offsprings of the giants, the Nephilim. Remember, the Amorite king Og of Bashan bedstead was about 9 cubits the length thereof and 4 cubits the breadth of it. So his bed was about 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. So remember, the average king-size bed is not even 7 feet long. So Og was probably about 10 feet to 13 feet tall. So these Amorites, aka Gibeonites, would make a covenant with Joshua. And we know how that went. So this covenant would end up causing a war with the Philistines. Now, the Philistines were also giants, and in this chapter the Bible spoke of the sons of the giant, and one of the sons the Bible made sure to make note of a notable detail concerning these giants, the fact that one of the sons of the giant was a man of great stature, and that he had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number. And it appears that some of these genetic traits of these giants lives on in a group of people in the Americas.
A 6-fingered family has been embraced in Brazil as a lucky omen for the country's football team. Brazil have won the World Cup 5 times. This year, they are hosts and hoping to win their 6th.
Since the last World Cup, we've wanted Brazil to win its 6th championship, so we can show with our 6 fingers the number of times Brazil has won. It still didn't happen, so this year we're really hoping Brazil win for the 6th time.
14 of 24 members of the Silva family were born with polydactyly. a genetic condition in which a person has more than 5 digits on their hands or feet.
It's cool. I'm proud of having 6 fingers. It's easier to grab things and do other stuff. I've never played the piano, but I want to learn, and it might be easier playing with 6 fingers.
It's cool. I'm proud of having 6 fingers. It's easier to grab things and do other stuff. I've never played the piano, but I want to learn, and it might be easier playing with 6 fingers.
Now I know what many of you are thinking. How did the Canaanites get to the other side of the world, to the Americas? Well, there was an archaeological stone found called the Paraba stone and the Inga stone.
Now, curiously, if we come and have a look at this page here, it says that many symbols of the Inca monolith are similar to those found in Turkey, in ancient Anatolia and the Hittites. A series of inscriptions speak of a borders war between 2 sovereigns of the Mesopotamian origin. Another story tells about a terrible volcanic eruption. The ashes covered a stone city on the Atlantic coast, similar to what happened in Pompeii and Heraclium. I find this very, very curious.
Found in what is present-day Brazil. Now, the Inga stone was said to have been of Proto-Hittite origin. And then there was the Paraba inscription, which was written in Phoenician Canaanite. The translation reads as follows: "We are the Sidonian Canaanites, from the city of the mercantile king. We were cast up on this distant shore, a land of mountains. We sacrificed a youth to the celestial gods and goddesses in the 19th year of our mighty king Hiram, and embarked from Ezion-Geber unto the Red Sea. We voyaged with 10 ships and were at sea together for 2 years around Ham. Then we were separated by the hand of Baal, and were no longer with our companions. So we have come here, 12 men and 3 women, into a new shore. Am I, the admiral, a man who would flee? Nay. May the celestial gods and goddesses favor us well." Now, there are many people who want you to believe that this inscription was a forgery. However, we understand that this inscription exposes who they are, and they just want to keep that hidden. And these stones are just a couple of the many archaeological finds supporting the theory that the Canaanite Phoenicians discovered the Americas. Take a look at this clip.
California, found amongst Europeans and Middle Easterners and Middle Easterners and Middle Easterners.
روايتنا تقول نحن في هذا البلد قبل سيدنا إبراهيم. ولا أقول هذا الكلام أنا، وإنما التوراة تقول. التوراة تقول إن الفلسطينيين بالنص موجودون من قبل إبراهيم. إذا لماذا تنكر علي حقي؟ فهذه الأرض لم تكن يوما بلا شعب، فنحن مغروسون في صخورها وترابها وجبالها منذ بداية الحضارة والكتابة واختراع الأبجدية الكنعانية الفلسطينية قبل أكثر من 6000 عام.
هذه الأرض على مدى 5000 عام من وجود الفلسطينيين فيها. طبعا نحن أول من سكن هذه الأرض، أول من سكنها، ولم يسبقنا أحد، ولم تخلو حقبة من حقب تاريخ هذه الأرض من وجودنا. على مدى كل هذه الآلاف من السنين مر عابرون كثر على هذه الأرض وذهبوا، طواهم التاريخ، وبقيت الأرض وبقي أهلها وأصحابها الحقيقيون الذين لم يتغيروا مع عوادي الأيام. وهذا الاحتلال والله عابر رغم الألم، رغم المعاناة. هم يزعمون أنه كان هنا هيكل، زعم وأساطير وأراجيف ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان. ورغم ذلك المشكلة بيننا وبينهم ليست مشكلة رواية دينية ولا رواية تاريخية. المشكلة أنهم لصوص، المشكلة أنهم لصوص سرقوا الأرض ويريدون أن يسرقوا التاريخ. لكن التاريخ لا يمكن أن يتغير ولا يمكن أن يزيف. الحقائق تشهد. نحن هنا منذ 5000 عام، لم نغادر هذه الأرض، لم نغادر هذه الأرض. أجدادنا الكنعانيون واليبوسيون الموحدون هم الذين بنوا القدس قبل حتى أن يأتي إبراهيم عليه السلام.
كل حجر بنيتموه في أرضنا، كل بيت بنيتموه في أرضنا لا بد إلى زوال إن شاء الله. ومهما أعلنوا عن بيوت هنا ومستوطنات هناك ستزول جميعا إن شاء الله، وستكون على مزابل التاريخ، وسيتذكرون أن هذه الأرض لأهلها، هذه الأرض لسكانها، هذه الأرض للكنعانيين الذين كانوا هنا قبل 5000 سنة، ونحن الكنعانيون، 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 ونحن الكنعانيون.
And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number.
I'm proud of having 6 fingers. It's easier to grab things and do other stuff. I've never played the piano, but I want to learn, and it might be easier playing with 6 fingers.
Epilepsy.